I'm super excited for today's guest. Jason Terry doesn't need too much of an introduction, but I'll do it anyway. Part of the 97 National Championship team at Arizona, Conference Player of the Year. He was an All-American, 19 years in the NBA, won an NBA championship. He was the sixth man of the year. I feel like the accolades go on and on. So, Jed, appreciate you giving me some time here. And I think maybe the best news for you is you're the newest member of Arizona basketball's coaching staff. If I would have told you back in the day when you were still on campus that you'd be a part of the coaching staff, what would your response have been?
I mean, I would just lit up like a Christmas tree like I am now, man. I would just be very excited. And obviously for me, throughout my career in the NBA, as I was coming towards the end, I was already post-career planning and thinking about my next phase. And the next phase for me involves coaching because for me it's about impacting lives and being able to mentor the next generation. And doing it at my alma mater obviously gives me a great joy, and I'm excited about the opportunity.
Well, explain to me how this even came about.
Well, about the 12 years of my career, the off season was spent time coaching AAU grassroots basketball. So then in my fifth, towards the end of my career, probably like the 16th season, I interviewed for the University of Alabama Birmingham job. Interview process went well. I was not selected. So from that day forward, I dedicated my time to being in coaching meetings, video meetings, helping practice plan and prepare scouting to prepare for when it was going to be my time to be a coach, whether it been at the NBA level or the collegiate level. And so in that preparation, you know, the fire just kept burning and burning. I finally retired after my 19th season for the Milwaukee Bucks. I spent time as the assistant general manager with the Texas Legends and just continued to learn the business side of basketball. So, you know, from there, I mean, conversations with numerous athletic directors, some of my old college coaches, Damon Stoudemire, who's the coach at Pacific. Those type of guys mentored me and groomed me for what was to be taking place. Also, I have to give a lot of credit to Jim Livengood, who was a good friend of mine and has been a mentor throughout this process, and Jay John, who was the associate athletic director and who coached me at the University of Arizona, has aided me in this process as well. This past fall, I went and spent lunch with Sean Miller and with Jack Murphy. And in our conversation, they're just like, hey, we don't have a spot now, but if in the spring anything opens up, you're going to be the first guy we call. Spot opens up, and the rest is history.
You started by saying you wanted to make an impact on the next generation. And I think with all your experience in the NBA and the success you had as a player, the obvious impact would be, how do you help my game? But because of some of the things that are happening right now in society, I feel like you can offer more. Explain what you want your impact to be around Arizona basketball.
Well, obviously, you know, for us, winning is what we want to do. We want to bring the championship pedigree back, the tradition, the heritage. It was rich. That's why I went to the University of Arizona, because of the guys that came before me. Sean Elliott, Steve Kerr, Dave Stoudemire, Kenny Lofton, all those guys, Khalid Reeves, all those guys served as mentors to me, and it was a brotherhood. And so we want to kind of bring that tradition back, as well as the mentoring aspect. I mean, obviously my years of experience in college, 4 years student, graduate with a college degree, and then playing 19 years in the NBA, that is kind of the be all, you know, for these college athletes, you know. But now in this day and age of one and dones, obviously in the year 22, kids will be able to come out of high school. I just want to be able to share my experiences with them, and then hopefully I can be a sounding board as well. You know, being able to vet out anything that they have that comes across their plate, give them hope. You know, it's one thing to be able to listen and hear about it, but to be able to see it and interact with someone that has been where you're trying to go on a day-to-day basis is powerful, and it is tremendous value.
I'm sure you have a little bit of a relationship with Richard Jefferson, one of our analysts at Pac-12 Network. And RJ and I have had these conversations before where he is stressed because you just dropped the phrase one and done. The end goal for a lot of the guys that you're going to be recruiting over the next couple of years is to get to the NBA and do what you did. RJ has been on record, at least on a lot of our shows, saying, hey, pump the brakes. There's nothing wrong with developing your game at the college level before you decide to dip those toes to the next level. What would your advice be to some of those players that do want to play in the NBA, have the potential to leave school early? How would you handle a situation like that?
Well, I just got to believe, going to college for me and staying 4 years helped me become much more well-rounded, not only as a basketball player, but as a human being. I had my first child when I was a sophomore in college. And, was I prepared at the time? No, but by the time I graduated, I was a much better brother, father, and husband. And I think those years of preparation helped me to reach that stage. And I'm still growing. I'm still developing in all phases of my life. But those years were very valuable. And so for our young men, it's not only developing them as, the best elite athlete they can be, but also as a person, so that when they go out into society, they're going to be one productive and of high character. And so those are some of the skill sets that we'll be able to give these young men.
You mentioned that character as well, and I do want to have a conversation with you about some of the things that we've been dealing with, and certainly the last few weeks for sure. But I know Kobe Bryant's passing had a huge impact on you. Your team was actually supposed to play Kobe's team the day that he passed away. I want to fast forward past that. There's the COVID pandemic, and then most recently the killing of George Floyd. Jet, put into words what 2020 has been like for you.
Well, 2020 has been the ultimate test of faith. I'm a Christian man. I believe in faith, and everything happens for a reason. And I think at this particular time, it is a test. It is a test for the whole human race to see how tightly knit we are, to see how we're going to bond together and help each other as a society. When you walk in Christ, you must be Christ-like. And we know he gave the ultimate sacrifice for us. And that was giving his son, giving his son up and sacrificing him for the good of all people. And so I just think as a human race, we have to understand that there's a higher power that's working, and we have to be selfless. You got to be selfless in these times and understand that, we got to have justice and equality for all people, not just black, not just white, but for all people. And if we can do that, then we are going to be way ahead of where we are today.
Jason, how do you explain the dichotomy of being cheered as an NBA player by tens of thousands of fans inside of an arena to then leaving that arena and dealing with being an African-American male in this country? And I'm sure you have stories of racism that you've encountered in your life, but it seems like such a weird thing to try to balance when you're celebrated in one avenue and then sort of vilified in another.
Well, it's the thing about it is being African-American was not a choice. I was born like this. And so when you take that perspective, you understand that, one, you have a tremendous responsibility being a professional athlete, one that came out of the inner city that is African-American, to hold yourself up to a certain standard. And then to know that not only do African-American kids look up to you, but all kids look up to you that aspire to be who you are, right? And what you have become. And so for me, I wish times were different, but there were more people before me that inspired me to be who I am and to achieve the things that I have achieved. And they had tremendous sacrifice. You think about Dr. Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X. Some of these guys are guys that serve to me as role models that if I look back into the history books, I look at how they carried themselves. What were their core values? You take out religion and race, and at the end of the day, it's right and wrong. There are certain things that are right, there are certain things that are wrong, and there should be no gray area when it comes to right and wrong. And for me, I just rather lean on the side of right.